What's up guys, Nintenjoel here once again, and it is time to revisit a series that I have not done a video for in quite some time, and that is the 10 great games that won't break the bank. And previously I've done a bunch of different consoles, and I've talked about everything from NES to PlayStation 2, Game Boy Advance, all kinds of systems. But the first one I talked about was the Super Nintendo, and I talked about 10 awesome games on that. And you know, I had gotten a couple comments just recently saying that I hadn't done anything with the series for a while, and I was wondering which system should I do, and I really felt it was time to revisit the Super Nintendo because lately, I shouldn't even say lately, like the last 6 months or so, I've discovered some decent Super Nintendo games that I didn't know about that were pretty awesome, or that I heard were awesome but yet haven't played yet. So anyways, I've got 10 of those games for you, and for the most part these are actually fairly decent games, really not bad at all, and especially for the price. People really shouldn't go for games because they're expensive and rare. While I do understand that as a collector, it does entice me to want a game a little bit more once I know it's rare. I don't get games because of rarity. I like to play my games, and that being said, there are some really playable games in this list for you that are under 20 bucks, and some are even under 10 bucks. This first one's a really good example, actually. So, what do you get when you combine Space Harrier and F-Zero? Why, you get Hyperzone on the Super Nintendo. Hyperzone's actually pretty cool. It's a third-person perspective spaceship shooter-type game, but really, it's kind of racing also at the same time, and you have to stay within the tracks, otherwise you can get hurt, and there's all kinds of shit flying at you like Space Harrier, and you can move your ship, you know, in all kinds of different directions, and it's just really cool. It's a neat game, it's very colorful, and there's a lot going on, and just graphically it reminds me of F-Zero, but mechanically really reminds me of Space Harrier, which is not a bad thing. Both really good games, and combined make a fairly decent game that is literally like $5, so that's a good place to start. I mean, you got 10 bucks in your PayPal account, and you know, you need to pay for shipping on a game, and you need a decent game for $5. There you go. You got Hyperzone plus shipping, and it's probably going to still leave you a couple bucks in your account. Alright, so the second game I have for you, I have actually heard a few people talk about it. It's a pretty good game, actually. And it's a licensed game, too, which is pretty unusual. You know, on the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo and even Genesis, pretty much through the lifespan of video games, licensed games have not really had the best record for being great games. This breaks the mold. Hook. Not bad at all. In fact, if you like Skyblazer, I've actually mentioned this before, but if you like Skyblazer, this game is actually kind of similar in the like floaty aspects of it, and there's just something about it I really like. It's super colorful, it's got nice music. The only thing that might turn some people off is the kind of floaty feature mixed with the fact that it's kind of a slower paced game. It's not really a high intensity game. I find it still fairly challenging though. There's a lot you can do, and the way you jump, it's almost like launching yourself in the air slowly. And so your jumps are at first a little hard to control, but at the same time it allows you to do a lot, and you get items that help you float around and do all kinds of stuff, and it's really a decent game, and it's under 20 bucks, so there you go. Hook, definitely a winner. Okay, third one I have for you is one that I just discovered fairly recently. Actually, Hook's kind of fairly recent too. Okay, so I knew about this game, I had heard about this game, I had it on Genesis and had never actually played it. I don't know why. I guess because I was waiting for the Super Nintendo version to get in my hands, but this is True Lies, another licensed game that is actually a winner. This is a really fun, like, overhead run-and-gun game, kind of like if you mixed Gauntlet and, oh, I don't know, Super Smash TV. Overhead, lots of enemies coming at you, you can pick up different weapons, you know, they all do different things, you can, like, roll across and dodge enemy fire. It actually follows the movie fairly well from the levels that I've played. Like, there's a snow level near the beginning where you have to run and dodge all the skiers and all kinds of stuff, and yeah, it's really fun, actually. And one of the few licensed Super Nintendo games that I can say is actually worth the price and worth picking up. So yeah, True Lies, don't scoff at it, pick it up, see what you think, it's not bad at all. Alright, so the fourth game I have for you is one I have mentioned on the channel before, but not in the great games that won't break the bank. Having a hard time talking. This is a really good game that has recently started to get a little bit more notice, and I think the price has risen accordingly. This used to be like a $5 game. Now it's bordering on like 10 to 15, but Ignition Factor. Ignition Factor is actually really fun. You're a firefighter. And in fact, there's a Super Famicom game, I believe it's Super Famicom, that has a similar title, a similar game as well. It's called The Fireman. I believe it's called The Fireman, and I've been wanting that one for a while. But Ignition Factor is basically the American Shores version of that, almost. And it's almost like an overhead adventure game, but it's also a firefighting game. You can equip certain things, only a couple at a time, so you don't get bogged down, I'm assuming. But you can get like a fire extinguisher, a chemical extinguisher, an axe. I think you can get like a ladder. And you use a combination of a couple items to rescue people in a burning building, put out fires, chemical fires, all kinds of stuff. Really fun, actually. Firefighter game doesn't sound like it'd be very fun, but the fact that it's kind of an overhead, like Legend of Zelda Link to the Past type of view really helps the gameplay, and it's a really solid gameplay, too. Musically, this doesn't have a lot going for it. It's mostly just like quiet and like sound effects, but graphically, very good, and mechanically good. The gameplay mechanics of it are really fun, so check out the Ignition Factor for sure. Okay, now for some straight-up platforming, and some really good platforming. This game kind of reminds me, I don't know if maybe this was developed by Electronic Arts, actually. I don't think this is the same guys that did Lost Vikings, but there's something about B.O.B. that reminds me of Lost Vikings. B.O.B. is a really fun platformer and very quirky and kind of humorous, and the animations are just really fun and cartoony to look at. B.O.B. is this robotic alien who is taking his parents' car out for a drive, little spaceship car out for a drive. He crashes it into an asteroid, and he lands on this asteroid, and he's got to get through all these wacky levels. And the animation for him, like, climbing across a rope, he like climbs by his fingers. It's really freaking funny, and like he can also duck down and squat, and also like walk across the screen while ducking down. There's weapon upgrades. It's almost Metroid-ish a little bit in the fact that you can like switch the weapons and stuff, and there's a weapon screen, and wow, it's really an in-depth game that I'm surprised people don't talk about more. Remember this cover. This is a very good game, and I suspect it's going to get a little more attention in the future. You know how it is with Super Nintendo, Nintendo games. They eventually do see more people talking about them, and of course I'm not helping by talking about it now, but you guys need to know about these games, right? So yeah, keep an eye out. Try to get B.O.B. while you can. It's just quirky, fun, good music, good graphics, great gameplay. You can do so much with your little B.O.B. character. It's pretty awesome. Okay, I got the 6th game. Probably should have been the 7th, because this is the 7th Saga. Okay, now this is an RPG that definitely has its flaws. It's the only RPG on this list, and if I remember correctly, on my last Super Nintendo 10 Great Games That Break the Bank, I think there was one RPG on that list as well, and it was Illusion of Gaia. Which probably is over 20 bucks now. 7th Saga is getting close to 20 bucks. Get this one while you can. Okay, so graphically, great game. Musically, great game. Control-wise, nostalgia, everything about this game I like, except for one thing, the difficulty. Now, most RPGs, the difficulty is negotiable because you can just get stronger, and therefore you can beat the enemies around you easier. The problem is that the enemies around you in this game get stronger as you get stronger, and grinding in this game is a bitch. You can literally spend 2 hours later on, way later on in the game, but still, hours on into the game, you can spend 2 hours trying to gain one level. It is insane, and the enemies are very hard. There's a lot to the game. You get these runes. This is your goal, is to like search out these runes, and each rune gives you a certain little power, a little ability. Like one heals you constantly, and one can boost your attack power, one can boost your defense power. There's all kinds of stuff they can do, and you can use them in battle. But you go out looking for these runes. There's other characters that go out looking for these runes as well. You run into them and associate with them, and even can have one of them in your party. They can leave your party, come back in your party. It's actually a fairly in-depth RPG. It's just really difficult. It's not impossible, though. I personally haven't beat it because I'm always working on so many, but my nephew has beaten this game, and my brother-in-law has beaten 7 Saga as well, so it is definitely doable, and it is a great game for under $20. That is an RPG. I mean, that's pretty awesome. There's not many of those left on the Super Nintendo. This is probably one of the last ones for under 20 bucks that's actually good. So grab 7 Saga while you can. Okay, so we're on to the 7th game. Alright, this one's really fun. And a game that I just got recently in one of my pickup videos you just saw, Out to Lunch. Out to Lunch for Super Nintendo is incredible. It's so fun. I don't usually like the puzzly, platformy type games. I'm not really a Bubble Bobble fan, or insert puzzly platformer game here. Some are decent. I like that one I just got for Famicom, Super Arabian. It was pretty fun. Out to Lunch is kind of similar. You're a little chef. You have a certain area, and these vegetables and ingredients run out of your fridge, and you have to go capture them. Now, you've got a couple methods to do this. First of all, there's a lot your character can do, which is pretty cool. First, it seems fairly basic, but you can run by pressing the Y button. You have a net that you can net the vegetables with, or the ingredients with, and you have these little packets that you can throw at them to stall them. I can't tell if they're salt packets or sugar packets. I haven't really looked at the instruction booklets, but basically you net all these damn vegetables and damn ingredients, and then you take them back to the bottom of the screen where you started, and you deposit them in this cage. Once you have all of them on the screen, in the allotted time, you go on to the next stage. Your vegetables escape again. You really should probably put a lock on your fridge. But what's really cool is there's really nice platforming elements to it. You really can't die, which is interesting. You only die if the timer runs out. You can get hit by an enemy over and over and over again, and all that happens is you lose a couple ingredients from your bag of caught stuff until you don't have any more. And even when you don't have any more, you don't die, you just kind of get stunned. You only die if you run out of time, which makes it kind of interesting and very fun. The graphics are nice, the music's nice, everything about it. Gameplay is top-notch. Highly, highly suggest Out to Lunch. This is a game that is kind of uncommon. I never, ever see this game in the wild. I've been lucky enough to find it twice. One was through a trade recently. The first time, I think I got it in a lot, and it was literally the only time I've ever seen this game, and many people tell me the same thing. It's not expensive online, so get a copy, because you're probably not going to find this one in the wild, and it's worth it. Very fun game. Okay, so down to the 8th game. We're going to straight up platformers again. And this one's great. I just played this today. This one's Pluck. Pluck for the Super Nintendo is so, so fun. First of all, the controls are just excellent. Top notch. Seriously, they're great. You have a standard jump, you have a spin jump that goes higher. I don't really know why you use the standard jump much, to be perfectly honest. But your method of attack is like throwing off your arms, like little appendages, and you can kind of throw them off in rapid succession, making this game almost a run and gun, but they're not very long range. But it seems like there's other stuff that you could do that maybe might enhance it later on. I haven't actually played this game a whole lot. This is actually one of the games that I've played the least on this list, but it is really fun, and the controls are really fun, and it's really quirky. The graphics are cool and bright and colorful. You collect shells, and the more you get extra lives, and it's basically just a platforming game. And what's really funny about it is the story is ludicrous. You're just this dude, this weird claymation looking dude that can shoot off his arms, and you're looking for your flag that has gone missing. He has this square flag, and he's looking for it, and you go from place to place looking for your stupid flag. So must be an important flag. But yeah, that's all there is to Pluck, but really good game. In writing, it sounds very simple and not like anything, but the excellent controls and quirkiness really make up for it. And plus, the price, it's cheap, it's not bad. Alright, number 9. Okay, number 9, I'm actually in the middle of playing with a buddy, and yeah, it is really fun. Disney's Goof Troop. Now, another licensed game. Disney did do a good job with their games, though. I have to say, Disney was actually one of the companies that made licensed games that actually did a good job. You got Lion King, you've got Disney's Goof Troop, a game that I almost mentioned in this video, Toy Story, great game. There's all kinds of great games. Disney's Goof Troop, though, stands above the crowd, though. This is basically an overhead view adventure game, and the coolest thing about it is you can play 2-player simultaneous and help each other out It is incredible. You go around collecting items and solving puzzles and trying to get keys to the next boss, beat the boss, and then do it all over again on another level that looks really cool. The graphics are awesome. Everything about the game is amazing. Great control, very memorable, and very replayable as well. And some of the puzzles are actually fairly challenging. Me and my buddy were scratching our heads a couple times, probably because we're a couple chuckleheads, but yeah, it actually had us scratching our heads a couple times, and when we solved the puzzles, it felt good to solve the puzzles. It was very rewarding. So yeah, Goof Troop, I can't recommend it enough. I really can't. It's honestly one of the best games on this table right now, except for maybe Out to Lunch. I really like Out to Lunch a lot, and Seven Saga I really like a lot too. But yeah, Disney's Goof Troop, can't go wrong. And the last game I have for you guys, definitely one I've mentioned before, but it's been a very long time. And this price is still under 20 bucks, but it's getting up there. You might want to get this one while you can. There is a Genesis port as well, and that is Wanderers from Ys 3, or Ys, probably Ys. Wanderers from Ys 3. And this is a really good game, though a departure from the series. If you're familiar with the Ys games, but you're not familiar with this one, this is not Overhead RPG. This is a side-scrolling RPG action-adventure game, I'd say. It's kind of like Legend of Zelda 2 or Battle of Olympus or something like that. Really good game, though. Kind of a steep learning curve at first. Getting to the first couple levels on your character is kind of tough. Enemies will take down your health in no time. But overall, good story, really good gameplay, great graphics. I've actually beaten the Genesis version, but not this version yet. And they both have like pros and cons. There's some stuff I like a little bit more about the Genesis one, and some stuff I like a little bit more about the Super Nintendo one. If you want a really good comparison, head over to Console Wars' channel and check out their comparison on Ys 3. It is amazing and really funny as well. So, man, I talk about that channel constantly. I love the Console War guys. But yeah, if you want a side-scrolling RPG for the Super Nintendo rather than the Nintendo, a console where they normally came out on, this one carried over to the 16-bit genre, or 16-bit generation, and was a really good game that I feel is very underrated and just doesn't get talked about enough. You know, the Super Nintendo had so many good RPGs that it's easy to overlook Seventh Saga, Ys 3, or like my last video, Illusion of Gaia, because there are games like Final Fantasy 3, 6, or, you know, Breath of Fire 2, Lufia 2. There's so many good RPGs, Shadowrun. These get kind of buried, but they are good, and especially for the money, they are definitely worth your time, and they're definitely worth beating, in my opinion. So, yeah, there you go. There's 10 great games that won't break the bank. That's really hard to say sometimes. But yeah, I love every single one of these games, and actually can recommend every single one of these games no problem for the price, and think that most of you guys would enjoy them or appreciate them. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. Are any of these games that you already play? And what Super Nintendo games do you think I should include in a list if I do a third episode of this? You should probably watch the first one, make sure I haven't done any doubles, but or, you know, that you don't list any doubles. But yeah, go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think I should talk about next time, or what you thought of this episode. And if you did like the video, go ahead and give a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's red, it says subscribe, and it's down there. Go ahead and hit it, please. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's kind of nice to go back and revisit a series that I actually enjoyed making quite a bit. Just kind of forgot about, and I really do appreciate the comments and people that talk to me and say, hey, you haven't talked about this for a while. So yeah, that makes me think that you guys want to watch this, so that's amazing. You guys rule. Thank you very much for watching, and keep rocking the retro games.